awesome foursome back this week, is it? The 4 stars all come back?
Well, we're training today, so I think if they all get through training, they'll all be available, yeah. So, I mean, Shep, he missed a week with concussion after the Carlton game, so he was technically fine last week. McGovern's, he's been training pretty hard for 2 or 3 weeks, so he should be available if he gets through training today. Same with Tim. And Luke played his minutes last week, so barring anything unfortunate today, they should all play.
Is Luke the only one who would be on some sort of managed minutes, or is it all of them?
Probably. We haven't worked through that yet. So, trying to get that balance right. Trying to get everyone back together and, obviously they're not going to be at their absolute best in terms of fitness, but they're not far off.
With Elliot still sort of working into it minutes-wise and Luke doing that, do you have to work out how you get more midfielders into the team, or is it like how can you have 2 midfielders on managed minutes?
Yeah, we've got to work through it, because what we don't want is we don't want just plodding around. So they'll go as hard as they can for as long as they can. So we might need some support, but that's all part of trying to get these guys back in the program.
It's a welcome relief for you finally to go, I've got all my best talent basically available again.
No, I think we've had some real growth this year with some of the younger players coming through. So you need squad mentality, everyone knows that. And with our injuries being to significant players, there's been good growth. So, good to have our leaders back, but we've been really happy with some of the kids as well.
Is it a bit of a risk? We know how good they are, but there's been a fair significant amount out to bring them all back in at the same time.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, 1 or 2 of them have only been a week out, so Shep's a bit different than the other boys. So, look, I mean, it happened last year, didn't it? Towards the end of the year with the Collingwood final, we brought 3 or 4 back, and a couple were a bit underdone. So we've got to manage it the best we can. But their best is pretty good, and they're probably as prepared as they can be.
Were you able to get a bit more work into them during the bye period at all?
Yeah, we had a good session on Friday, so that came at a good time. As much as the bye was a little bit distorted what we thought it was, we got through the Tigers game and then we had a good break, but we trained pretty hard as well.
How tough does it make selection with these guys coming back, but having so many youngsters that performed so well since coming into the side? How hard does it make it with those guys?
Yeah, well, we need to be pretty honest with everyone, where everyone's at. So some of the guys deserve to play, and they should, and they will. Some guys will be unlucky. So that's just the way it is. It's a good problem to have. We haven't had that problem for a while.
How's the week been having Willy around? Do you feel like it's gone as well as it could have?
Relatively normal for us, really. I mean, he spoke very briefly to the players. He's been back for 3 or 4 weeks in WA and in Perth, and been able to catch up with the boys privately, which has been great. So it wasn't a big, massive deal for us when he turned up to train. So he would have been quite nervous, but he hasn't lost too much touch from what we've seen. Got a bit of work to do with his fitness, as we would have expected, but it's been pretty seamless so far.
Does he seem in a good place mentally? Is he happy?
Yeah, I think being back at the club and trying to reunite some of the relationships he had, reconnect with staff and members and fans, that's all part of the growth he's got in front of him. It's great for him personally to be involved in that environment, and he hasn't been a disruption to the program. So.
What did you think of him physically? You hadn't really seen him run or do much, but what does he look like?
Skinnies were good. Weight was up a little bit, so nothing that we can't handle in the short term. So he looks, and he's been kicking, so that's important. So getting his body through the next 4 weeks, and then we'll just see where he's at in the back half of the year.
How big a risk is pinging something for him at the moment, given so
Pretty
long
big, I
out of the
suppose.
game?
Yeah, I just got to calm me down a little bit today when we do a bit of match sim. So, but that'll be all part of how we reinduct him to the program.
I imagine you wouldn't have spoken to a group before, all that often out the front sort of scenario. How did he handle?
Oh yeah, that was all internal stuff that part of the process. So he was fine.
When you look at I'm sure how without asking you how you won't want to answer it. When you look at how he speaks to the players, he spoke to them out the front. Will he speak to them individually, one by one?
Oh, that's not for you guys to know about. So you're right. I understand why you stumbled through that question, because they'll work that out. Yeah, probably not. You guys don't need to know that.
Bulldogs have had an interesting week, a different week. what do you expect the impact that's going to have on their preparation?
None. Yeah, they're the real deal with Bulldogs. So looking at the vision, they could have easily have won that game obviously on the weekend. They've lost to 3 top 4 teams throughout the year, and they're in a good space. They've obviously got a lot of confidence in their system, got plenty of talent, and they work their backsides off. So where they play, when they play, I'm sure they're not worried at all. And you only got to look at the final last year with Collingwood doing exactly the same thing. I'm sure they've got no fears on handling what they're going through. It's not ideal, but nothing is at the moment in society. So they look like a pretty resilient group to me.
Who's you've got a great midfield, obviously, even with a couple of guys out. Who's their most important guys? Is it Bont, or is it someone like Libba or McRae?
Yeah, that's the thing with the doggies. You think it could be Bont, and then Libba will tear you apart, and then McRae, Hunter, all these guys, their midfield is a real strength of theirs, but it's their system. So it's what they do together that you got to try and combat. So whether that is taking on a player and trying to tag someone, or trying something different, or just playing your way and backing your own way in. So that's something we've got to work through.
I feel like you're in a position to start building momentum now after the bye, like players coming back, winning a couple before the bye.
Yeah.
This is where you can start to push that fun towards finals.
Yeah, well, for us to qualify, these games are big. Home games are important for us. I think we hung in there against the Tigers, and we showed some really good resilience and spirit. We're going to have to do the same with the Bulldogs. They win more than they lose, a lot more. So, massive challenge for us. But the guys are up for it. They're really looking forward to it.
Alex Weatherton, does he come in, or is he another week in Waffle? Or?
Yeah, he's up for consideration. Like, he was exceptional at Waffle. So I thought, he's unfortunate when he got injured when he did. So he's one game back. So we've got to weigh that up with the inclusions and what we do with some players in our side, whether they need to play in different positions. So we'll work through all that. But he's definitely put his hand up. He was really good on the weekend. So was Vardy as well. I thought he played really good football as well.
I know the midfield's been touched on with the system, but Marcus Montefilli had 30 and 3 in round 2. How do you go about growing what he can the influence?
Does he have 30 and 3 every week though?
Pretty often.
Yeah. So we actually ran with him a little bit that game, and then he still found a way to get through. So yeah, we've got an eye on that. Lately they've been running with Libba, so it shows you that his value as well. So and then McRae's averaging 37 touches a game. So it's definitely something we're aware of. So like I said, you either take 1 or 2 out, you play a different system, or you back your own one in. So we'll work on that today.
Just one on your thoughts of next week. I know you don't look ahead, but looks like Sydney can't play in Sydney. It's all over the shop. Maybe a possible trip to Melbourne again.
Yeah, I've got no idea what's going on. It's honestly, you sort of stay in your own lane with this sort of stuff and worry about your own club. And we went through a lot of that last year, as did everyone. So I know that they're not in Sydney, and the likelihood of us going there's probably minimal. But we're just so used to playing. We played Carlton in Sydney 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. So whether it's Melbourne, Adelaide, maybe they can come play over here. It's anywhere, anytime really for anyone. So it just doesn't seem to be as much of a stress as it used to be.
Do you think that the competition should seriously look at bringing more games over here, given
Absolutely.
COVID's in the east, there's nothing over
Yeah,
here. You guys had to play
bring
over
the
there
hub
long
here.
time.
Yeah, no, it's look, the AFL have done a tremendous job, and like I said, I haven't been at the forefront. We've been very fortunate this year, as opposed to last year. We've for the most part haven't really been too affected with the hub sort of situations, or the shorter hubs that they have. So we're and that's just luck in terms of in good governance, I suppose. But we're being fortunate this year to be pretty much in our own beds as a club.
Jackson McRae hasn't dropped below 30 disposals all year. There's been a bit of talk why clubs don't kind of put more attention into it. Is he a damaging player when you do your opposition analysis?
Yes.
Is it just a case of Bont and Pally and Libba, like you said before, the depth?
It is a little bit, yeah. It's not just their midfield group. It's the whole way they play. So, they do flick the ball around a little bit as well. So you do have to weigh up the damage of that, but that's all part of what they do. So, there's just so many players. And like really good teams, great teams, you stop one, another one will bob up. And that's, I'm sure, the attitude that they have. And I'm sure that's what we want to have down the track too, because we're we've got a pretty good midfield ourselves. So, yeah, we'll see how we go.
You just touched last time you played Richmond, saying, you know, are they the barometer of, you know, the competition? Where's sort of Bulldogs sit in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think I said that the Tigers are the, you know, playing them, you sort of get a real good audit of where you're at, because if it's on their terms, you can't. And the Doggies are the same, you know, really. So we played them round 2. It was a really good game. We had an opportunity, I think, halfway through the last to get an 18-point buffer, and we conceded the last 3 goals, I think, and then we go down by a goal or 2. So that was a game of momentum as well, albeit it might be a bit different conditions this week. It might be wet this week, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, obviously we hold them in really high regard, and you know, they've lost 3 games for the year against some really good sides.
You had some games early in the season where teams ran over the top of you at the end. Last week's, the week before's game against Richmond, being able to get through and get the win, how much confidence do you take into this week, especially with what happened last time?
Yeah, a bit of resilience is great. Good for everyone and spirit. So the Carlton game was the same. I think we won the last quarter there. But it hasn't been a massive focus for us to make sure we win last quarters. But we were low in terms of finishing off games and stopping momentum. 2 games in particular. I think the Essendon game, we couldn't stop that. And there was the St Kilda game early in the year. Sometimes that happens, you know, and it's really hard to stop momentum. And just like probably Richmond had with us as well. So trying to find ways through leadership and system and process to stop a team with a run on is something we're all looking for. But every now and then you get bitten on the backside.